You are listening to bangradio.net.
I always tell people whatever way you are now is the best way you know how to be. It's the way that you believe will achieve the best results in your
Right,
life. And if
right.
that's being like an irresponsible, blaming asshole, if that's being somebody who consistently procrastinates, there's a reason you're doing that. And there's a way that it's
Man,
benefiting you. And as soon as you discover that, that's when you're able to make change.
let's talk about that because you had mentioned that before when we were talking earlier about this non-judgment and
Yeah.
how nobody ever does wrong.
The basic idea is this, is that, you can't ever do wrong at the time of the action. If you want to do something and it's wrong, well, you'll figure out a way to justify it. So in the moment it becomes right. And whether that's, I use the car thief example because it's pretty common. It
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
You had your
A
car
guy,
stolen twice,
yeah, I
right?
had, fuck man. Yeah, I did actually.
Fuck.
And so this is, maybe I'm touching on it because it's something I had to learn to accept and forgive. And before anybody thinks that, like, forgiving something is the same as saying that it's okay, it's not. I don't condone it at all. And the thing is, with moral relativism, which is the idea that everybody has their own set of morals, which is right for them, it doesn't mean that there's no objective wrong.
Man, there's so many different theories about this, and I really believe that humanity really wasn't that evil. We've always fought, we've always had tension, but we never killed and sought revenge and all the stuff in this. I believe this all comes from like a massive social density and yada yada yada, and carries over into the whole social and sexual realm, which is what I rant about, forever. But what I really like about this idea of what you're talking about is if we could understand, the empathy, the motive, the connection of why people are doing stuff, and just see that they thought they were doing good. And I'm going to take a couple steps back here and just say this, like, if you're doing fucked up shit and it's out of the realm of society and you want to get in the solution, you can't make an excuse. All right. I don't give a fuck what your family was like, what your race was like, what people say. If you need to change, like, let's say with a drug problem, because this is like the main reference point that I have. No shit, man. Poverty, big time. Abuse, big time. Like all these things, all these stresses and pressures, inequality, looking at the roots of addiction, because it's a fairly new thing, even though it's, genetic. It's a new thing. It's a new thing that keeps getting more and more. But before we look at any of those causes of what you had to deal with, you have to shut the fuck up and, start to change and get into an area where you can.
Yeah.
So just saying that, man, what if we had that in our mind? What if the addict, what if the thief, what if the violent man had an outlet? I'm not saying, because there shouldn't be without consequence, but what if it had an outlet or some sense of compassion going like, I understand why you're doing that.
Yeah. Oh, we can dream, man. We can dream.
Yeah.
That's something that I totally think would be a much better solution. And before I go any further, let me just say that again, having that attitude doesn't mean you condone or excuse the behavior. And it also doesn't mean you think there should be no punishment. Right. There should absolutely be punishment. But the thing is, there's no cessation of the behavior without understanding, empathy, and change. Like if some guy thinks I'm just like, well, fuck you, you go in a cell every time you're bad. Well, he doesn't know any different. If he doesn't have the tools to change, he's just going to go, well, life dealt me this hand and you're punishing me for that? Like, fuck you. And then he's going to get back out. He's going to be more bitter and more resentful, probably meet some worse people while he's in jail. And it's going to make the problem even worse. We need absolutely what you said. You need to connect with these people and go like, look, man, what happened to you to get you in this place? Nobody wakes up and wants to be like you. You don't wake up and go, I want to be a horrible, violent, murderous fiend or something. That's not what enters your head. It's a series of circumstances that get you there. And I'd like to touch quickly on a really important fundamental psychological law. It's called the fundamental attribution error. And it's the idea that when people are trying to explain behavior and try to explain motives, all they really do is they look at the person. They go, that's a bad person, or he's a fucked up person. And they totally ignore the effect of environment and society on the way you act. And this goes for cheating. Cheating is a big one. Go, oh, well, he's a bad person. Well, no, maybe he was just drunk at the club. Maybe he regretted it totally. But at the time, the environmental factors that were playing on him overwhelmed his inner morals. And it happens to everybody. And to believe otherwise is it's really well established as a self-esteem defense mechanism. Because if you think that, bad behavior or bad circumstances or like fucked up, horrible things happening has only to do with somebody's character, then you can alleviate the anxiety of having to worry about that by saying, I don't have that character. That's not a problem I'll ever face. I don't ever have to deal with that. And you can just shut it out. And it also cuts off the empathy, though, too. So it's a really big problem. And I wish it was taught and people would understand that more.